I am but a humble security guard of the Oakwood cemetery, a solitary job on the night shift. It is a thankless position, and the graveyard lies in stillness, save for the occasional critter that ventures in from the woods on the edge of the grounds. I have taken to creating short videos of suspense that I share with the world. My assistant in these endeavors is my niece, Lily, a child of remarkable talent, gifted in the art of crafting tension. We started our journey into the realm of terror with off-scene noises, lights flickering ominously, and doors creaking open. These beginning videos had a sinister tone underlying them without much narrative. As our following swelled, we developed a story of Lily embodying a restless specter, her presence haunting and tormenting my attempts to uncover the secrets of her character. As we continued to post and develop our story, we started to receive cryptic and disquieting comments on our videos from a viewer, one who displayed a disconcerting knowledge of the cemetery. The comments grew increasingly disconcerting, suggestive of a secret area concealed within the graveyard's confines. An insatiable compulsion to unearth the truth consumed me. My mind was maddened with thoughts of the potential fame this would bring. Every night I worked, I explored more of the depths of the grounds. One night, while crafting another foray into the realms of disquiet, we resolved to venture into the thick woods on the furthest section, barely on the cemetery grounds. Therein, we stumbled upon a concealed and forlorn alcove of the graveyard. The sepulchral stones were ensnared by creeping ivy, the grave seemingly untouched by human hands for time immeasurable. A strange luminance glimmered in Lily's eyes, like the luring allure of a siren, as she recognized the perfect backdrop for our sinister tableau. Yet, an indefinable dread clawed at my psyche. As Lily arranged the scene, I meandered among the funereal slabs and perceived cryptic sigils etched upon them, the work of a trembling hand. They whispered of secrets and untold darkness, a foul relic obscured by time's unyielding shroud. The night air grew colder, and the spectral aura thickened, as if the forgotten souls of the departed were roused. In a moment of preternatural clarity, a distant murmur echoed through the stillness, and the revelation dawned upon me that we were not alone in this desolate nook of the graveyard. The atmosphere was unlike any we had previously encountered, and the sensation of unseen eyes scrutinizing us became an oppressive yoke. While Lily became engrossed in rifling through the personal relics left at the graves, a spectral presence enveloped me, and I beheld shadowy phantasms gliding amidst the funereal stones. The sigils danced with an unholy life of their own, and the whispering voices crescendoed. Then, the deep whispering returned, closer this time, its cryptic utterances lapping at the shores of my sanity. The horrifying realization washed over me like a cataclysmic wave. We were intruders on consecrated ground, and the forlorn specters of the forgotten dead had stirred from their eternal slumber, their wrath and yearning corporeal. As I stood there, torn between the narrative we had woven and the impending doom of this hidden part of the graveyard, a gust swept through the overgrown tombstones, carrying with it the tormented whispers of the long-forgotten souls. In that ominous moment, I understood that we had awakened something beyond our control. Lily's eyes, aglow with excitement, were now mirrors of terror, her realization of the grave danger that enveloped us undeniable. Our audience of shadowy figures seemed to multiply, their ethereal forms drifting closer, closing in on our mortal realm. The ancient sigils etched into the graves blazed with an otherworldly light, and the whispers grew more distinct, their spectral cadence intertwining with my racing heartbeat. I was caught in a symphony of the deceased, an audience of phantoms demanding our presence in their wretched narrative. My niece, paralyzed with fear, turned to me. The dread in her eyes mirrored my own. for in the heart of that neglected graveyard, the boundary between the living and the dead had dissolved. The dire crossroads before me had become a maze, every passage fraught with peril, yet the choice was no longer mine to make. The spectral figures converged, a haunting chorus that enveloped us, as the haunting whisper drew ever nearer. In that moment, my decision became irrelevant, for the relentless pursuit of our story had become a pact with the spirits, binding our fates to theirs. We were no longer mere chroniclers of the supernatural. We were now ensnared within its dreadful embrace. Our harrowing tale had come, but the ending remained shrouded in the darkness of Oakwood Cemetery. As an EMT, I've borne witness to countless grisly scenes. In the beginning, these harrowing sights had the power to unsettle me, but over time, they became a grim routine, seared into my memory, but locked behind a heavy, emotional door. Calls blurred together, faces of the injured and sick forming a hazy tapestry in my mind. Proficiency in saving lives was accompanied by the necessity to distance myself from the horrors I witnessed. Yet, one night stands out, a memory that refuses to fade with the years. It was just another night shift, my partner and I waiting for the dispatcher's call. The voice over the radio relayed the details of a seemingly straightforward incident at a local residence. An elderly woman experiencing pain. Nothing out of the ordinary. We were dispatched to offer assistance. We arrived at the house, the ambulance's tires screeching on the quiet suburban street. The nearly full moon hung low in the sky, a bad omen for those in our line of work. The night was unusually still, carrying an unsettling tension in the air. At the front door, we knocked, the anticipation heavy. Silence followed, but from deep within the house, a frail voice called out, "I am in the back." My partner and I shared a glance, a sense of unease settling in as we pushed the door open. Announcing ourselves, we entered the moonlit house, the words echoing through the quiet rooms. "EMS, can you guide us to where you are?" The elderly woman's voice, frail and trembling, replied from somewhere deeper inside. She directed us through the entryway, past the dining room, and into the family room. We reached the master bedroom, where the woman sat on a king-size bed, her nightgown and slippers, suggesting she had been getting ready for bed, or was already in bed when the pain struck. Her eyes, cold and lifeless, were fixed on the master bathroom, indifferent to our presence. The room's layout placed us facing the bed as we entered, a sitting area to the left, and the master bathroom through a doorway on the right. It was as though something within the bathroom had ensnared her gaze, something powerful enough to render her oblivious to our arrival. An eerie feeling washed over me as we took in the scene, a sense that something was profoundly amiss in that room. It was as if we had walked into the midst of a nightmare still unfolding. Instructing my partner to check on the elderly woman, I turned my attention to what had captured her stare. My eyes met walls, counters, and ceiling, all smeared with an unsettling red hue. Then I saw him on the bathroom floor, the woman's son, or so we later discovered. He lay there, having taken his own life in the most gruesome manner. The floor was stained, and most of his head was missing, leaving behind a grotesque tableau of torment. I reminded myself to remain composed. My partner and I carefully escorted the elderly woman out of the house and into our ambulance. As we sat in the ambulance later that night, with my partner at the wheel, the sense of unease that had enveloped me refused to dissipate. We had helped the woman and rushed her to the hospital, but questions lingered. How much had she seen? The scene in that room had been horrifying enough, but her eyes, staring coldly into the abyss, suggested she had borne witness to something beyond the aftermath. The years might have made me numb to many things, but the recurring thought of her observing, or perhaps even trying to prevent the unfolding tragedy, still haunts me. It serves as a stark reminder that certain nightmares are not the stuff of fiction, but the nightmarish experiences of real lives. Working call nights at the hospital always felt like a tightrope walk between life and death, a nerve-wracking performance on a cold stage. It was during one such night when a call came in, a desperate plea for help, about a teenager who had suffered a devastating car accident. The emergency room, usually quiet during these hours, transformed into a frenzied activity as our medical team raced to assess the extent of the young patient's injuries. The teen was a mere wreck, a shattered vessel of flesh and bone, the aftermath of the brutal collision. We toiled tirelessly, our hands and minds fighting to stabilize the fragile threads of life that still clung to her battered body. It was a grueling battle, each passing minute a cruel reminder of the ever-widening abyss between hope and despair. The trauma team's efforts were relentless as we grappled with the unyielding grip of death, attempting to snatch the young patient back from its merciless clutches. Hours flowed like molasses, the clock dragging its feet as our team fought to breathe life into the fragile form on the operating table. Despite our collective expertise and determination, the truth loomed, and we couldn't ignore it any longer. The teenager's vital signs flatlined, a mournful song of defeat. It's a burden that never grows lighter, especially when it's someone so young, snatched away in the merciless grasp of fate. With a heavy heart, I turned to begin the task of documenting this tragic night. The room, once a battleground for life, was now silent, save for the soft hum of machinery. The janitorial staff shuffled in, ready to cleanse the room of the remnants of our struggle, signaling the somber end of another tumultuous night in the ER. My report was nearly complete when an abrupt commotion shattered the stillness. Startled and puzzled, I rushed back into the room, only to find the janitorial staff recoiling in horror. They had been on the verge of concluding their work when the impossible unfolded before their eyes. The teenager, the very one we had declared deceased, defied our understanding of life and death. She sat up on the operating table, her face contorted with disorientation and distress. In an utterly horrifying twist, fluids spewed from her body onto the floor, creating a nightmarish tableau. The janitorial staff, unable to comprehend what they had witnessed, were left in a state of terror. As if the veil between two worlds had momentarily thinned, the medical team, including myself, sprang into action. Desperate attempts to resuscitate the teen were made, despite the inexplicable revival. The room, which had been prepared for a final cleansing, once again became a battleground, a realm of chaos and desperation. To this day, the haunting event of that night remains unresolved. What had transpired to breathe life back into the young patient, only to have it snatched away once more? It's a chilling mystery that continues to haunt our memories, a stark reminder of the unfathomable complexities of life and death that lurk within the shadowed corners of our existence.